Good morning, JD.
Good morning, JD.
Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation this morning will be delivered by Pastor Kevin Barkey from the Fellowship Baptist Church in Saginaw. Thank you for coming out today. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Thank you for allowing me to serve you today. Father, we bow before you this morning. Thank you for these your servants who serve on behalf of our county. We ask, Father, that you would guide them today, that you would give them your wisdom as they seek to conduct the business of our county. We ask, Father, that all that is decided today and discussed today would reflect your will. And we commit them to you, and we commit this day to you. We have prayed and asked this all through Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Pastor, for coming out today. Agenda announcements, Mr. Manius?
Your Honor, we do not have any agenda announcements at this time.
Whoa. Court members, you have before you the minutes of the regular meeting of February the 24th.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Wynn, Commissioner Fickus. Motion passes unanimously. We have a proclamation, a resolution, and then we have our employee recognition. The first proclamation is on severe weather awareness. It says week. I really think we ought to make this month. Or at least a quarter, maybe even a quarter. Tanya, come on up here. Where's Tanya? You're the one to blame for all of this?
Yes.
So I will read this into the record, and then we will maybe vote on it. Severe Weather Awareness Week. Whereas each year brings the potential for violent weather in Texas when large portions of Texas, including Tarrant County, could be devastated by flood, tornadoes, hail, windstorms, sleet, snow, cobble ice, and a bunch of other things, and other emergencies. And whereas the Texas Division of Emergency Management and the National Weather Service have joined together to urge all citizens to prepare for severe weather events and to educate themselves on safety strategies, and whereas Governor Abbott has declared the week of March 1st through 7th, 2015 as Severe Weather Awareness Week in Texas, now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim March 1st through 7th as Severe Weather Awareness Week in Tarrant County, and further, we urge everyone in our community to learn more about and to participate in severe weather preparedness activities available in Tarrant County. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this third day of March 2015. I'll move its approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Got some folks there. Come down here. We may give you a brief, but we appreciate everything you do.
Well, and you'll be getting a briefing for tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, you're going to give me that briefing a little bit. Good. Well, come on in. Come on in here. I won't bite. I might complain a little bit, but I won't bite.
Did you want to talk?
Yeah, you just talk to us a little bit. So that they associate a face with the name.
Yeah. So good morning, Judge and Commissioners. I want to thank you for this opportunity to basically put the focus on our citizens of Tarrant County on preparedness. Certainly, the preface for severe weather is really tornadoes and flooding, but certainly now winter weather. So making sure that all of our citizens are prepared for severe weather, so having a disaster supply kit and a communications plan with them and their families. So I appreciate each of the precincts as well for all the work that your crews have done to try to keep the citizens of Tarrant County safe on our roadways. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and I really do appreciate all the work that you and your staff have done, and I know it's been long hours. I appreciate everyone in their efforts to, keep the county open, and at the same time be safe and use your best judgment as to whether you can come in and if you can make it in or not. Unfortunately, it looks like we are potentially going to have some additional challenging weather this week, but again, I think we've got a plan, and we appreciate your effort in making sure that plan is in place and works. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
In particular, I appreciate the updates that you send from time to time. You're as good as Harold Taft used to be.
Oh, I can't compare to Harold Taft, so I appreciate the compliment. Thank you.
Commissioner Fickus, I believe you have a resolution for ratification.
A resolution for the Chisholm and Great Western Trails, the National Historic Trail designation. This is an effort locally to have, I'll read this. Visit about it. Whereas the National Park Service has completed a comprehensive study for designating the Chisholm Trail and the Great Western Trail as National Historic Trails under the National Historic Trail Program. And whereas Tarrant County wants to recognize our cattle, Western history, and heritage tourism by urging congressional support for the proposal to make these two trails National Historic Trails. And whereas this designation will offer great economic benefit to the county and surrounding municipalities, both on and off the trail, by highlighting museums, festivals, events, educational programs, and historical markers. And whereas Tarrant County thanks Congress for authorizing the study and commends the National Park Service for its excellent and thorough research. And whereas the Tarrant County Commissioners Court looks forward to having Congress implement these National Trail designations, which we hope to be in time for the 150th anniversary of the Chisholm Trail in 2017. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, join with the surrounding community in supporting the designation of the Chisholm Trail and the Great Western Trail as National Historic Trails. And this will be signed and sent on back to Congress, and or we will wait their designation. So it's something that a group of people have been working on for a long time, and hopefully we can get this done.
I'll second.
A motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Now we come to one of my favorite times each month, and that's the time when we get an opportunity to recognize the employees who have served Tarrant County for 5-year increments, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. We have even on occasions had the 35 and the 40 years. So again, as I call for you 5 years, you newbies, when I call your name, you stand up and you remain standing until I get through all the 5 years, and then we'll give you a round of applause, and which is really, we wish we could give you a whole lot more, but we very, very much appreciate your service to Tarrant County. So beginning with our 5-year employees, Jackie Bridgewater from the Sheriff's Office, Karen Curry, District Clerk's Office, Alma Espinoza, Public Health, Dottie Foster, Sheriff's Office, Allison McAnow, Public Health. Okay, how did I do on that last night? I didn't do too well.
It's weird.
Well, regardless of whether it is or not, I can mess it up. I can tell you. Douglas McGriff, Sheriff's Office. Marvin Morton, Precinct 4. Loanne Wynn, Public Health. Michael Pace, Facilities Management. Valerie Philibert, Precinct 4. Nara Reed, Public Health. Debbie Rimmerman, Tax Office. Donnie Scott, Juvenile Services. I messed that one up, or started to. Jermaine Walker, Auditor's Office. Shannon Zellers, Domestic Relations. This is our 5-year class. Now for our 10-year, Verdal Baker, Sheriff's Office. Gary Cole, Precinct 4. I really appreciate Gary Cole. That's just very to the point. Mark Cood, Sheriff's Office. Ty DuPont, Auditor's Office. Angelica Flores Cisneros, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Patricia Gregory, County Clerk's Office. Jameson Holslander, Information Technology. Katrina Jennings, Sheriff's Office. Priscilla Johnson, Domestic Relations Office. Susanna Lee, Purchasing Office. Mary McGehee, Sheriff's Office. Charles Miller, Sheriff's Office. Numi Ruiz, Public Health. How mad did I mess that one up? You're just going to be happy with it. I appreciate it. Don't embarrass me. Karen Martinez, 372nd District Court. Jonathan Thomas, Sheriff's Office. Cheryl Wheeler, Medical Examiner's Office. These are our 10-year employees. Let's give them a hand. Now for our 15-year employees. Damon Call, Sheriff's Office. Joanna Fisk, Tax Office. Tammy Ingram, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Ethrin Jefferson, Sheriff's Office. Douglas Legan, Juvenile Services. Legan, okay, whatever. It's a lot of fun. Dave, and they get a whole lot more enjoyment out of this than I do. I love the recognition, but they love the, I know you just said quit digging the hole. When you're in the hole, give up the shovel, quit digging.
Quit digging.
David Mora, Juvenile Services. Catherine Ramirez, Constable, Precinct 4. Michael Rafel, Fire Marshal's Office. Beretta Smith, Juvenile Services. Jerry Stewart, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Jackson Wilcox, Sheriff's Office. Kenyetta Williams, County Clerk's Office. These are our 15-year employees. Now for our 20 years, Vicki Behart, okay. Information Technology. Joni Bryant, Sheriff's Office. Abigail Garcia, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Kevin Ridge, Auditor's Office. Dora Rodriguez, Sheriff's Office. Wayne Salvant, Criminal District Court Number 2. Judge Salvant wasn't able to make it. These are our 20-year employees. Let's thank them. We have, for our 25 years, we I give them a call, talk with them a little bit about their time with the county. Our first is Tim Bednarz, the District Attorney's Office, 25 years. Started out in the DA's misdemeanor area and then went on to the felony. Spent some time as chief of the juvenile area, is now the chief in the 371st Court, which is Judge Westfall's court. When I asked him about memorable moments, he said, I can still recall the first day that I came to work. It was it was obviously 25 years ago. And things have changed a little bit. He said, at that point in time, they officed in a rundown building behind the jail. They swore him in. They gave him the Code of Criminal Justice, and then they told somebody to take him out back. Now, he was being sworn in one of the nice granite buildings, and so then they took him out to this little rundown building, which basically was total chaos, no phone, no desk. He said now everybody has computers, but we're back to no phone, because everything comes in just about off the smartphone or the internet, and you take that little laptop computer with you everywhere. So it's we've come from one no phone, no desk to a new no need for a desk. When I asked him what he liked the most, it was the camaraderie, the pleasure he really received and got out of doing the job that he does. And he said, I enjoy being one of the good guys and being one that is constantly trying to make Tarrant County a better place. He said he was very thankful that he's had an opportunity to work with Tarrant County, grateful for all those people who've helped him over the years. When I said what's happened kind of over the last 5 years, he said, fortunately, everything's kind of the same. He has 3 children, 3 sons, one that's 20, one that's 18, and one that's 17. The younger 2 are beginning to talk about college, and so he's going to be working here for several more years. I can relate to that. I can tell you've got at least probably another 10 years. Yeah, that'd be about right. We can speak from experience. But Tim, we really want to tell you how much we appreciate the 25 years you've given to Tarrant County. Thank you very much. Next is Rick Floyd with the Sheriff's Department, 25 years. Spent the first, 13 and a half years in the jail area, and then moved over to the courts and has been working in Judge King's court for, about 11 and a half years. One of his memorable moments, he said, I can remember when I was working in the jail and there was a couple of inmates that, were acting like they were about to get into a fight. And he said, I anxiously kind of stepped in between them. And as it turned out, they were as anxious about me. They were as willing and wanted me to step in between them as I didn't want to step in between them. When I asked him what he liked most, Rick, it was the fact that he had a chance to work with some wonderful people. It was a great opportunity. Rick and his wife were married, and when they were married, they found the house that they wanted, and it happened to be in Garland. They're still living in that house.
Bless your heart.
And so every day, Rick, or just about every day, Rick gets on the DART system, goes down, comes over via the TRE. So he is one that avails himself of the pass that the county offers at a discount. Robin's shaking her head, so I'm at least right so far. But it takes him about 2 hours to get here and about 2 hours to get back. So he said, I have plenty of time to reflect before the day starts and after the day is over. As a hobby, he said, I love photography. And he said, it's just something that I really enjoy doing. When I asked him, okay, tell me about some of the things that happen, especially in he said, in the probate court, we have all kinds of folks that come in. A lot of times they may be a little elderly, and the judge has a pretty strict rule about not bringing food, not bringing chewing gum into the court. I mean, so there was this elderly individual who came into the court, and he saw that she was chewing gum, and he said, do you have a gum? And she thought, do you have a gun? And she was, no, I don't. So it can be, it can be a little interesting in all of those courts. 2 kids. He has a 16-year-old daughter that's about to go for her license. Bless you. That's all I can say. Just bless you. And then he has an 18-year-old son who is, he said he's working and he's almost making as much money as me on a part-time job. Yeah, well, we wished we could do better. Rick, we appreciate very, very much the 25 years you've given us. Thank you. Rosemary Garza was going to be out this week and was not going to be able to make it to court. She worked for JP in Precinct 5, and then also Greg Richards with the auditor's office was not able to make it today. He has been there 25 years, so when you see Greg, please congratulate him and Rosemary both on their 25 years of service to Tarrant County. 635 years is what was represented here today. This is small thanks for a tremendous dedication to serving the public that all of you make day in and day out. We do very much appreciate the passion that you display in doing your job each and every day, regardless of who you're in front of, whether it's the public, whether it's a guest in our jail, whatever it may be. You are, I think, respectful, and over I hear how professional you are in the way you do your business. We appreciate that. We cannot tell you enough how much we appreciate that. So again, thank you very, very much for your years of service to Tarrant County. Let's give them a round of applause. Refreshments, 504C. I don't see Wilder, so you're probably already late. You better hurry. Thank y'all. I'd make a motion that we receive and file the employee recognition.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have a couple of public hearings this morning.
Did we do the consent agenda?
No, we never do that. Hold on before you. I always want to forget the consent agenda, which
I forget the roll call, so where are you? I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Now, come on down.
I think last week I jumped the gun on that, so. Okay, morning, gentlemen. I come to you today with a couple of public hearings. The first one is a new subdivision in Precinct 1 called The Bridges, and we're just seeking approval for, it's probably easier to look on your court communique, the locations. There are several of them out there, and we're just seeking approval for the installation of those stop signs within that subdivision.
This is a public hearing, and so I'll open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here today wishing to speak to this matter. There appearing to be none, then I will close the public hearing.
Move approval of the installation of the stop sign.
We have a motion second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And then the second one is an existing subdivision that is in Precinct 1 as well. It's just an extension of the existing Ashford Park subdivision. We're seeking approval for 2 stop signs within that subdivision.
Somebody's going off, but they got it. Nope, there it comes again.
Not me.
I will open the public hearing now and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak to this matter. I hope it's not my alarm clock. There appearing to be nobody here wishing to speak to this matter. I'll close the public hearing and ask for any action.
Move approval of installation of those 2 stop signs.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Smith is going to present item 1.
Morning, Judge.
Good morning.
How you all doing? This is an authorization to submit the Safety and Justice Challenge Grant. It's a grant application. It's not an award, so, and there's 2 supporting resolutions, and this is going to be through the MacArthur Foundation. The purpose of this grant application is really to improve our criminal justice system and safely reduce our jail incarceration numbers. So basically, this is all about jail population control in a lot of ways, which we have been on the mission for a number of years. But it's also going to go into a deeper dive into what they have classified in the RFP as unnecessary incarceration. And the best way I can explain that to you, to be for clarity purposes, is the mentally ill, we'll say, who we have in our jail, the seriously mentally ill in our jail. We have approximately 700 under MHMR care today. Average length of stay is about 100 days. Half of those possibly could be seriously mentally ill, but we don't know. So as a good example of that, this is what this intent of this grant is look at the unnecessary and be sure that we keep our jail beds available for those that are flight risks and dangerous to our community. There's going to be two phases of this, but I added one just so I wanted to add one phase of my own planning, for my own planning purposes to you as a court, is the first phase of this, phase 1 is going to be a $150,000 grant. It will be awarded to 20 sites, and it's a planning grant. We'll put if we're awarded, we'll put a team of people together, which I have a budget for, and we will dive into our jail population and really look at it very closely. That's phase 1, and there's 20 sites. So I have, as an FYI, I was on the webinar with 700 people on the call. It's going to be very competitive.
Les, is that $150,000 per site, or is it $150,000 to cover all 20 sites?
No, this is for us. This is $150,000 for each selected site.
Per site.
Per site.
And we've submitted 20.
No, I'm preparing a budget for $150,000 for this particular Okay?
They will select 20 sites.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. If we're successful, that means if we're successful, we'll go into phase 2, which is the implementation phase of the program. In other words, our plan will set its deliverables, its goals and objectives, then we'll move into implementation phase if we're successful, and there's an additional up to $2 million to help us implement our programs that could lead to reduction in our incarceration rate. There's one phase that they don't mention in here, but it leaves it open. The door is open for funding sustainability, but it's not clear to me how long that will be. So I always have to be able to bring up to, let the court know that even though on the court communication it says no fiscal impact, there could be something down the road, and with the funding sustainability factor. So if we're not funded, or if we cannot move forward under these phases, do we want to incorporate that somewhere else in the county, maybe through the Government Results Program or whatever? That's the essence of this. I have a resolution before you signed by the Justice Executive Planning Committee. We met for about an hour. They wanted me to bring that resolution to you to let you see their support for this. Your resolution is there. I've got letters from the Sheriff's Department. I got letters from the District Attorney. These are support letters. Our Judiciary, the Tarrant County Reentry Coalition, Hearst Police Department, and I've also got commitments via email from the Arlington Police Department, MHMR, University of Texas Arlington Research and Training Center, and the Law Enforcement Executives Committee of Tarrant County. We have a lot of commitment and leadership to this project. The interesting part about this grant, 40% of it is leadership and commitment. 30% of it's motivation. We have the motivation, do we have the leadership, the commitment, and 25% of it is the data capacity, which we know is excellent. That's basically it. I'd like to submit it to see where it goes. However, at the same time, I wanted you to see the entire picture of it before we went any further. Do we want to submit this? And that'll be up to the court.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion to second. Any discussion?
I just want to say that if we are successful in achieving grantee status in this program, it will do a lot of things for us. Our jail population, admittedly, is one of the lower ones among large urban counties. But it's because we've done a lot of work to get it there. Typically, when you do the work before the grant, you're penalized by not being able to qualify for the funds. We don't believe that that's going to be the case in this particular grant application because the work that we have done shows our history of being able to work together as a county to achieve the outcomes of lowering jail population, that we've been able to lower our jail population without affecting community safety. But even though we've been able to do that, there are still areas on which we need to focus. One is the area of over-incarceration. We don't have an effective risk assessment tool that allows us to determine who needs to be in our jail and who does not. That will be a significant outcome if we're selected for this grant. The other area is the disproportionate presence in our jail of minorities and poor people. That's another area that we need to focus on in terms of being able to get some of those who do not need to be in our jail back out on the street. There are tremendous socio and economic impacts to incarcerating someone who doesn't need to be in jail. There are family impacts and there are impacts to our county budget. So all of this will be a benefit to the county if we're able to get it done, and a benefit to the community if we're able to get it done.
Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Les.
Members of the court, we have one final item. Item 2, we're requesting that the court approve interim financing for grant year 2014 as it relates to the tenant-based leasing assistance program in Cornerstone 3 CP.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Tidwell.
We have one item we're asking the court to consider this morning, and that is to receive and file the Tarrant County financial statements for the 4 months ended January 31st, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Phillips.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's requested that Commissioners Court approve a contract with SP Plus Corporation to manage the public parking in the Calhoun Garage and the Plaza Lot in Fort Worth.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion.
Just a simple question. How come it's a 5-year contract? Is that a little long, or what? Is that a normal practice?
That's a normal practice. It's such a large startup effort to get going and get some consistency and continuity with the effort for public parking management.
Okay, so it's more efficient to go with that.
Yes, sir, it is.
Thank you.
I don't know that this pertains to this particular contract, but as we get closer and closer to opening the Civil Courts building, I'm getting more and more questions about parking and the ability to put all the cars in that garage. And I noticed as I drove by this morning that it was full and that nobody was able to go in.
Yes, sir.
And you keep assuring me that that's not going to be a problem.
Did I say that?
Did my hearing go bad, or?
I think we have options. I think we've been in conversation with the Sundance Square Management, the Bass folks, who have been very much team players with us, the county. They have torn a building down 2 blocks away and made it, currently it's monthly paid parking. And when we open up the building, they've committed to Tarrant County that they will change that to public daily parking.
How many spots does that have?
130.
And so those people who've been parking there monthly,
Plus, there's a parking garage across the street from our parking garage. That's a privately owned parking garage that is not full.
I would expect, and I'll be
just
very...
want the court to note that both of Mr. Manius and Mr. Phillips have indicated now that parking is not going to, I mean, because I was also told I've also been told in the last month that that parking garage also has been full on occasions. So
if you remember,
I've got some real concerns about the fact that we're opening a new building and we have not added any parking.
well, I do too, and that's why we went and talked to Sundance management folks a couple of years ago. Now, I won't sit up here and say you're not going to get phone calls. Back when we opened up the Family Law Center back in 2005, I don't believe any Commissioners Court member got a phone call saying we didn't have ample parking because we had a brand new, essentially unused garage sitting there that was only used for employees, and we changed the bottom floors to public parking. So you did not get any calls. You may get calls this time until they figure out where to park. That's just kind of natural. So we're going to have parking ambassadors setting up for our garage, and when our garage gets full, we'll be sending them down to other garages as we need to, other parking facilities. The other options, and if you don't mind, I'll talk about that now. The other options would be we've looked into buying properties next door, the Chase Bank building, and that would be just the property alone and make it where it have a flat lot of about 100 spaces. It's $5 million. We did an appraisal on the property. We actually looked at putting a parking structure on that lot, on that block, and that would be about $12 to $13 million, which it could be done. we'd have to talk Chase Bank into selling it to us. When we communicated with them 3 years ago, they did not communicate that they were willing to sell that property. Their communication to us is they went ahead and put a brand-new $500,000 roof on their drive-in. So that was our answer. But we've looked at that option. We've looked at option of adding floors onto our Calhoun garage, was essentially, technically in business, not feasible, because we'd have to shut the garage down for several months. We've looked at those options. We've looked at options about going unassigned parking. I didn't get a lot of positive reception back from folks when I presented that back in July of 2011. That would help solve a problem. We would take the 4th floor of the Calhoun garage, where I park, and make that public parking, which could easily be done, and we'd have to figure out what to do with those folks who are on the 4th floor. So that would be my next option. If we just can't deal with it anymore, I think that'd be the least expensive option to the county, is to figure out a way to move those, to use that 4th floor for public parking. That would be a very $10,000 fix, and it would be, but it would be somewhat business disruptive to the county employees and others. We could probably figure out a way to do it, but I would recommend we wait 6 months. That'd be my recommendation, is see if it can solve itself, if we have a problem at all, solve itself in 6 months. And then if that can't happen, I will come back to you and make a recommendation of what to do. So I ask you to give me that benefit.
That's what we said we were going to do. I'm just, again, reiterating that
6 months.
there's a lot of skeptics.
Yes, sir.
There's no chance of doing anything jointly with TCC?
We've met with them twice. Commissioner, about 2 years ago, we met with the chancellor herself and some other folks, one of the trustees, and at that time, their answer was, we're okay at this time.
How long was that?
That was a couple of years ago.
Maybe we need to talk to them again.
Okay, I can certainly do that. I do know that once Radio Shack probably moves out, they'll have some more parking than the problem is the issue, the parking is down the street, not where it needs to be adjacent to our new courts facility. We've got somewhat adequate parking down the street on the west side. The east side of the campus, it's not quite as comfy as it needs to be.
Thought about, there may be some people out there that are willing to pay a premium and do a valet parking. Don't laugh, there's people that would pay that.
Yes, sir, there would be.
That, need 3 hours or, pay $20, $25 to not have to hassle with some of these high-dollar attorneys that come down here,
Well, I'd be more than glad to charge attorneys anything more than that.
Yeah.
Let's give David his 6 months and see if we've got a problem.
Yes, sir. We're going to do.
We did build that building knowing we weren't adding any additional parking. So it's kind of late to.
Well, no, I agree with what you're saying, but we have said from the very beginning that we thought there was going to be an issue, and we've been reassured that there probably wouldn't be, and we're going to give you 6 months. But I'm just saying, I think the question of parking, when you bring that big of a building down the street and add that many people to it, we're going to have to see.
One of the things that we have been doing for our personnel that are going to be working in that facility, I believe, David, you've held some spots open in the Calhoun lot for our employees.
That's correct. For the court coordinators and reporters who are essential to the courts, we're holding 16 spots open in the employee section right now for them to move over. We've already communicated with the district clerk's office back about a year ago. We will again. We started transferring those folks closer that may be parked down the street at the Plaza garage, moving closer to the Taylor garage, which is 3 blocks away. It's certainly not unmanageable to walk 3 blocks. So we're making every effort to get the employees closer to the building.
Let's give wow points.
So we've done that. We're very aware of the parking issues, and we're doing all we can that's reasonable without spending a lot of money doing it now. And the next steps, again, is to take the 4th floor and make it public parking. That doesn't cost too much. After that, we get talk dollars.
Do we have enough parking spots right now for the employees downtown?
We have about 40 to 60 to 70 on the waiting list. So that's, for all the folks who want a spot, no, we do not.
what is this, at one point in time, we had talked about, once our construction was finished down there on the jail and on the west side of the courthouse, building out the remaining half of the parking lot there at the plaza.
$7.5 million. We would add 196 spaces. We just got through pricing it, a detailed pricing for Belfour Beatty. Mr. Maney has asked me to get that done. I've done it, and it's $7.5 million, and that's quite a bit per space. So we have 40 spots, Judge, down there now. They're surface spots. We'd lose them, so that nets out about 196 spaces. It can be done, though. With those 196 spaces, since we overbook about 40% right now, so we can get 200 to 225, 30 people in there now. We have 531 spaces in the garage. We have 700 folks who pay.
531. Which garage?
In the plaza garage.
So why, if half of it equals 591, why is the other half going to equal?
It's third. It's third. It's another bay. They've got 2/3 there now, and we'd be adding a third.
What is that?
240 some
35,000
spaces?
a space or something?
Yeah, it's a big number. It's about double.
But normal?
We paid $8,000. I just did this research for GK. We paid $8,000 per space for construction only for the Calhoun garage back in 2000 when we bid it in 2001. Yates Construction, who's building our civil courts building, they built the large garage over on Montgomery Street that serves the stock show and folks. It cost about $15,000 a parking space, construction only. The one that I just priced you was about double that, a little bit less than double. But it's different now. It's 2015. It's a tight site, and we have to do some other things to the existing garage to make it work. So that may be an acceptable number.
Good luck.
We'll see you in about 9 months.
Thank you. Have we voted?
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have no parking information for you.
Move to receive and file personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We have one additional item. We're asking the court to approve a waiver of terminal benefits for Constable Precinct 4. Constable Bransom has a deputy constable who retired at the end of last month. The constable is requesting a waiver of 82 vacation hours effective March 9th.
How many?
82 vacation hours. He's already selected a replacement, so he's requesting the waiver be effective March 9th. The fiscal impact to the general fund is $1,400 and change.
This gentleman's 85 years old, is retiring. I move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? There's any number of things I could say. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Best you know.
Thank you.
I did not, just moving right along. Vinny.
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the court.
Good morning, Benny.
We have one item before you for approval. It's a letter of intent for the Community Youth Development Grant. It is coming from the Health and Human Services Commission at the state on behalf of the Department of Family and Protective Services. We've had this grant for about 17 years under DFPS, and this year they're looking to send it over to Health and Human Services Commission. So this letter of intent is to fund us through the remainder of the year for about $105,140. The grant provides services in 2 zip codes, 76104 and 76164. So we request your approval to accept that letter of intent.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, sir. Beecham. Good morning.
Good morning. Judge and members of the court, we have 3 items for your consideration this morning. Before we ask for that consideration, I'd like to ask Steve Suk, Staples Advantage Area Vice President, to come to the podium. He has a presentation to make to the court.
We can take a picture of it, and it'll go straight to the bank.
Oh, that's right.
Shirley's back again.
We're thinking about reinvesting in our own parking spot here for where that conversation went. Good morning.
Welcome.
On the Commissioner's Court. So it's that time of year again where we look forward to providing the annual rebate check on behalf of the cooperative that we have with Tarrant County in regards to the purchasing of the office supply program. And so this year, it was a great pleasure and honor. That's $229,903.60. So we're very pleased with that.
Why don't you bring that up here and get a picture with all of us?
Sure. I do have 2 other of my associates with me who probably do more heavy lifting than I do that I wouldn't mind having with Dave Gorman and Kathy Hill.
Come on up.
Jack, where are you at?
Beach, yeah, come on up here. Yeah. Come on.
I worked for 43 years to keep my picture out of it.
We've worked for 43 years to do that too, but, every once in a while, you gotta get in here with this deal, so.
Can you hold it up a little bit? Thank you. No. Okay, 1, 2, 3. One more. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Go ahead and do that to the auditor, if you don't mind.
Engineering paid for the new parking facility.
Yep. We'll hold on to that for 6 months. But 9 will be wrong.
So, Kentucky played Arkansas last week, right? What was the score?
Although we had more turnovers in the French bakery, I thought you guys were a better team than you were. You only beat us by 17 points. But,
That's all right. I was, when Kentucky was playing Auburn, somebody said that the line was like 30.5 points, and they beat them by even more than that.
You lost money on that deal.
I did.
Go
right ahead.
Hope is eternal.
Okay.
We have 3 items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is an item in regards to bid 2012-170, which is our annual contract for janitorial services. I need to give you some history on this. On August 26, 2014, the court approved the renewal of that bid, 2012-170. We received a letter under Court Order 118361. On January 28, 2015, we received a letter from UBM Enterprise, which were awarded groups 1 and 2, which are the downtown campus and basically all the sub-courthouses, notifying us that they could no longer honor their contract pricing. Several meetings were conducted February 5th with UBM, and it was determined that there was no language allowable in the contract by the DA's office to accept the price increase that they were asking for. Also had a meeting on the February 10th with UBM. We received on February 10 another letter from UBM notifying us of the 45-day cancellation clause that was incorporated in that bid document. We met with the secondary vendor, which is always our practice, Oriental Building Services, and the DA's office determined that their solution was not allowable. With that in mind, we are seeking cancellation of the previous award for groups 1 and 2 to UBM, asking that we be granted permission to rebid with revised specifications and requesting that UBM be taken off the bid list for a period of 2 years. This next bid will be a 30-month contract for the downtown sections downtown grouping number 1 and all the sub-courthouses. We were keeping group 3, which are the other buildings, with our current supplier, CTJ Maintenance. Those bids open on March the 9th for that particular rebid.
For 1 and 2?
Yes, sir.
You've already put it on the street?
We put it on the street because we were backed into a large corner. We feel like that if the court chooses to cancel that, we certainly can do that. We don't do that often at all, but we wanted to get the specifications out to have a supplier to maintain the buildings for us. We're pushed up against the wall on this one. I guess the thing that irritates me the most, if irritates is a good word, they full well knew on the 28th of January what they were going to do, and that was ask for a price increase. Had we known back then, and they chose not to honor the increase, which we brought back to Commissioner's Court, we would have been in a much better position to answer this. We're up against the wall with this one. We met with facilities. We tried everything we could do. We even tried, as you remember, with our previous our process of primary, secondary, and alternate. We met with CTJ Maintenance to see if they could take over the contract, and they just can't do it.
I don't have a problem with canceling the contract and rebidding with revised specifications. I do have a problem with only having 5 days from the point of our vote for these submissions to be in. I don't know who you've reached out to. I don't know how inclusive your panel of bidders is. And if it's not inclusive, I only have 5 days to get it corrected. That's not acceptable.
We complied with the law, and
I don't care about complying with the law.
we had a pre-bid conference of 7 vendors, which is more than we had the previous time when we let this contract.
Jack.
Yes, sir.
You need to be sensitive to inclusiveness in your bidding practices. If you can assure me that the panel of bidders is inclusive, I might feel a little better about it.
It's all inclusive.
I haven't heard you say anything about
It's all inclusive. We actually...
Inclusive of what?
Everybody in our database, we contacted, we beat the bushes to find more vendors than we had the last time that responded. I mean, 7's a good, healthy, round number.
7's a good, healthy, round number if all it includes is the usual suspects.
When you put the bids out, when you put it out for bid, you put it out in a manner that, or did you just mail the bids out to your list of vendors that are working currently with, or not working currently with Tarrant County, but are on the,
yes, sir.
And does that include MBEs and?
Yes, oh yes, exactly. CTJ, who are the company that facilities that recommend that we keep for the third group, is a hub vendor, and the decision was made quite some time ago. Maybe David should speak to that. It's certainly not my call. We've had historically problems with janitorial services in the 20 years I worked for the county. We chose, or facilities chose some time ago, not to put all the eggs in one basket. CTJ will probably, and we tried to work with them to take over the existing business, and that they just couldn't work it out. They probably will bid, as I've been told by my buying staff, on all 3 categories. And a decision will have to be made at that time by facilities. Do they want to put all the eggs in one basket again? But we have hub participation. There's no question about that.
So the bid is already on the street?
Yes, sir.
And the potential vendors have 5 days to respond?
No, the potential bidders had more than 5 days.
They had more.
We have only 5 days' worth of knowledge. I don't know why you couldn't have told us at the time you put it on the street.
It was my impression that the court members were contacted. I could be wrong in that statement, but I was on the impression that everybody was made aware of what we were.
I knew that I knew that they had said that they were going to forfeit the contract. I didn't know exactly what the timing was, but I do think we received an email or notification of the fact.
Did receive a letter from UBM, right?
Yes, sir, we did.
Talking about that they may have to cancel the contract.
And we even contacted the existing vendors that were previously awarded when we realized there was a problem with UBM to see if they could take over the business, which is our normal practice.
Now,
to go
we
to
have a contract with UBM, and do we have a clause that?
They have 45 days.
45 days?
Yes, sir.
So when did you put the RFP out on the street?
Teresa?
That went out last week. Well, actually, there was a permission to bid that was on last week's agenda, and so it went out the Monday before that. It went out. The permission to bid was on Tuesday. We had that.
Okay, so last week, we as a court passed permission to bid. That had gone out come ahead and come on up, the Monday before.
Yes, sir.
So we were still a little bit asking for forgiveness versus permission, which, I understand what you're saying under the circumstances. So last week, we gave permission to put out the RFP, and this week, you're just asking us to basically rescind the award that we had previously and to, what's the rebid with revised, what was the permission last week was permission to do what?
To bid.
Okay.
We missed the deadline to get that on the agenda.
Last week.
We were rushing to get, the meetings were still going on. I mean, we've complied with the twice and 2 week advertisement requirement, which is state law. We have to do that. We've again contacted all the vendors. We've talked with them. Still trying at the last minute to make it work. And we were up against the wall on this one. I mean, we really were.
Okay. Do I have a motion or a second? Do we have any other discussion or questions at this point in time?
No, we're under the gun. We've got to move. So I move approval of the request.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 4-1. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second item is an item in regards to.
Again, please.
Sir?
Don't do that again.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Hopefully this vendor will honor their commitment to Tarrant County in the rebid. Our second item is an item in regards to bid 2015-050. This is an annual contract for the purchase of pneumatic compactors. We are recommending rejection of all bids and asking permission to rebid with revised specifications. The price for this unit actually came in $20,000 over budget. So this is a purchase for Precinct 3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The last item is item in regards to bid 2015-052. This is an annual contract for the purchase of articulated loaders. The history on this particular bid, we had a 2-day demo in which precincts 2, 3, and 4 participated. After those demonstrations, it was determined that the unit, the specifications that we had put on the street, the units, based on their demonstrations, were underpowered due to the emission control requirements that all equipment manufacturers face today. With that in mind, we are recommending rejection of those bids and asking permission to rebid with revised specifications. We'll bid a beefed-up unit with a greater horsepower.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Mr. Skinner.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have 4 items for your consideration today. I'll address the first item.
Jeannie Green will present the following items. For the first item, we are requesting the court's approval of a new clean fleet policy. This policy will replace the current one that was approved by the Commissioners Court in April of 2006.
I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? At some point, I know there was concern about some of the provisions that were coming down with this new contract. Are you, or Joy Lee, are you okay with the contract as it reads and as it sits now?
That's a good question, yes. We have spent quite a bit of time over the last several months working with the Council of Government staff to address some of those concerns. And the way that the policy is worded right now, it feels like it allows us a little more flexibility as we move forward.
Okay, so everybody's happy?
We are content.
Okay. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Green.
Your Honor, our first item, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court adopt a resolution declaring a 1-acre tract of land out of the W.R. Loving Survey, Abstract 944, which is located on the south side of Mosier Valley Road and the west side of Vine Street within the City of Fort Worth to be surplus property, and that selling the property to the City of Fort Worth will fulfill a public purpose of creating a public park. We're asking that you approve and sign an all-cash contract of sales agreement between Tarrant County, which is the seller, and the City of Fort Worth, which is the purchaser, in the amount of $65,000 for the sale of the property to the City of Fort Worth. We're asking that you approve and sign the deed without warranty, and we ask that you authorize the Tarrant County right-of-way manager to sign the closing documents.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The second and third item are in relation to one another. This is in connection with the development of the Hinkin Ranch Estates in South Tarrant County, which is in Precinct 1. The first item...
Excuse me, Janie.
Yes.
I'd like to ask that we hold these two items for 1 week so that somebody from transportation can brief me on this subject. It's a fairly complicated transaction, and nobody has talked to me about it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had sent these by email. Perhaps maybe you didn't get them. I'm sorry. I'll be happy to do that.
I don't have a problem in holding for a week. We do have a audience participation form on these two items from someone who's indicated that they would like to speak to it. I would like to give them an option to make any comments that they would like to make today, just on the happenstance that they might not be able to make it down next week. So there is a Miss Myers. If you would please state your name and your address for the record, and then make any comments that you would like to make regarding this matter.
My name is Chesna Myers. I work in Weatherford at 1901 South Martin Drive. I work with the engineers that did the Hinkin Ranch development, and I was just here in case y'all had any questions
Okay.
that I could possibly answer.
So you can be back next week. Commissioner, you're asking for a hold for 1 week.
Yes, please.
So you could.
That's what we need to do then, yes?
Yep. You know, you
course.
work for the client, you get to charge by the hour, you just spend another hour next week with the client. Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Just send your bill to Commissioner Brooks.
Okay, I'll remember that.
Okay, so we're holding items 9K 3 and 4 for 1 week. All right, are there any appointments today? Being not, then we will move to the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a second. A motion and a second to approve the claims. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manias?
Thank you, Your Honor. We have two items for you this morning. The first is the Two Steps, One Sticker program. Mr. Wright is here to address the court.
Boy, I'm excited about that.
I saw in the paper this morning that we're doing great, especially out there in Tree this morning.
I was one of those that was a little derelict in getting my wife's February sticker done, and so as a result of that,
Precinct 3.
I just got right smack dab in the middle of it. So.
I'm just happy that we installed a queuing system.
So am I. We have queuing systems in Arlington and Northeast, and they're working very well and really helped yesterday. I want to start by complimenting some of the finest employees in Tarrant County, and that's the people that work in the tax office. They are never better than when the pressure's on, and yesterday the pressure was on.
Well, you need to thank the constables and others that assist them in situations like you had yesterday.
And I want to take this opportunity to thank the constables. But no, seriously, yesterday they processed almost 10,000 motor vehicle transactions. That's a bunch. Northeast did almost 1,000, Northwest did almost 1,000, Arlington did over 1,500. Southwest did close to 900. It was, all the offices were slammed, and when I got to the Hearst office yesterday morning, my first thought was that the commissioner was giving away toasters. The office was packed, and there were about 20 people outside the tax office door waiting to get in. All the offices were that way. When I got to Arlington later in the afternoon, there were 200 people in the lobby. The doors closed at 5, and the lobby was still full, and by 5:30 everybody had been served and was out the door. So the employees of the tax office did a stand-up job yesterday. Single sticker. I think everybody has probably heard about this. We've been talking about it for about a year now. It's a result of legislation passed in the last legislature. It's going to do away with inspection stickers. People will still have to get their inspection, but they will no longer have an inspection sticker on the windshield. They'll have one sticker, and that's the registration sticker, which will serve both purposes. It's a very simple process, although yesterday there were some complications. The main thing that people need to remember is you have to have a current inspection in order to register your vehicle. If you don't have a current inspection, then we can't do that. The second is, you can still renew the registration by mail or online in any of the 49 locations in the county, Kroger, Tom Thumb, Carnival Festival, as long as you have that inspection done. It's supposed to be updated real time in the computer when somebody gets their inspection. That didn't work too well yesterday. And so we'll know electronically, but we're telling people, bring that receipt with you. Bring that inspection receipt with you when you come to inspect, to get your registration. When they're transitioning this year, 2015, by the second year, the expiration dates will sync up, and your registration and inspection will actually expire at the same time. The first year it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for a lot of people. The important thing on this slide is the note. If your registration and inspection, if they expire in the same month, then you're going to have to get that inspection done before we can register the vehicle. This tripped a lot of people up yesterday. They came in with expired registrations for February. They had a March expiration on their inspection.
Yes, we did.
And we couldn't register the vehicle. We had to tell them that you've got to go get that inspected, because if you come in the month the inspection expires, we won't be able to register the vehicle. Even though you have a full month left on that inspection, we won't be able to register the vehicle if you come in the month the inspection expires.
So isn't this basically going to move everybody to get their inspection done the same month that they register?
That's right. And in the second year, it's going to sync up in any event. If you have, if your inspection is expiring this month, in March. You need to go and get it inspected. And let's say your registration expires in September. When you come in September, it's going to show that you have a current inspection, and we'll register your vehicle. The following year, you don't have to get your inspection until September, because both of those expirations are going to sync up the second year.
So back to your example of someone who had a February registration and then came in but had not gotten their, and had a March inspection. That individual will actually not have to get their car inspected again until
The following-
February of 2017.
16. That would be 16.
Why? Because I will have had my wife will have had an inspection that was done in March.
Right.
So when I go in February of next year, there's going to be a current,
Well, that's true. In that case,
and then I
it's
don't
going
have
to
to
show
have an
current.
inspection till.
And then in 2017, it'll sync up.
That's good to know.
But you've got
23 months to get my car inspected.
that with the that's right. So, a lot of people are going to pick up a lot of time. Some won't. The ones that won't are the ones like people yesterday where their inspection had expired this month, and they're not going to get the benefit of this month. And so, I had talked to quite a few people who believed that was unfair, which I happen to agree.
Well, just tell them that they lost 1 month, but they picked up 11.
I could tell them that. I don't think they were much in the mood for anything yesterday, but most people that came in knew about the program already because it's been in the papers, on the news media. We've done everything we can to get the word out. So most people knew about it. Most people were very patient. Some weren't. But we dealt with them as well. Now, once things sync up in 2016, you have a 90-day window. You have to have your car inspected sometime within 90 days prior to the registration. And it's going to carry over that way every year. You'll have to have it inspected within 90 days of the registration expiration.
So if in 2016 I decide to go in January as opposed to February, which is when the sticker is, I think I'm going to get, am I going to get a January sticker or am I going to get a February sticker?
You're going to get a January sticker. You already often lose a month on your registration anyway.
Nah.
But, yes, sir.
I'm a CPA.
Ron?
Trust me.
I think prior to now, and I don't know what we're doing going forward, but if you bought a new car, you got a 2-year.
That's correct.
How's that? Is it still?
It will still work.
Okay.
It'll still work. The dealers don't have to do that. That's something the dealer does. And they don't have to do that, but we think many of them will continue to do the 2-year. And it'll still work, and at the end of that 2 years, it's still going to sync up. So, okay, the inspection fees. This is the second thing that's different. In the past, when you went to get your inspection, you would pay for your inspection, and you would pay for the state fees with that inspection. Now, when you get your car inspected, you're going to pay for the inspection, but you won't pay the state fees until you come to the tax office or the grocery store. You do it online. You're going to pay those state fees along with your registration. So the cost of your inspection is going to seem less. It's going to be $14.25 less, but the cost of your registration is going to seem more.
What if an inspection person just happens to just by chance forgets to not charge you that $14.25?
Well, they're not going to charge you the $14.25.
But what if they forget not to charge me?
What if they charge?
You mean what if they charge you? Their system won't allow that charge anymore.
Okay.
I look at it like everybody's they're going to forget about that $14 they didn't pay, and they're going to holler at you.
Right, because they're going to, right.
Because we raised the rates.
Right. There will be some of that. Yeah. We had to explain that to several people yesterday.
And some today, too.
And some today.
And some tomorrow.
But those are the two main things for people to remember. One, you have to have your inspection done before you get your registration. And two, the fees you pay, the total amount of fees you pay will not change, but you're going to pay them differently. You're going to pay less at the inspection station. You're going to pay more when you get your registration. Okay, you can go to our website, which has a link to the two-step single sticker website at DMV. You can go to DMV and access it, and they have a calculator. If you have any question, you can just put in the numbers, and it'll tell you what you need to do with regard to your inspection. Agencies with exempt plates, and this will include the county, of course, cities, government entities. They have, again, they've got to pay that $14.25. Even though their registration may be exempt, they still have to pay for that inspection. They still have to pay us the $14.25 that used to be paid at the inspection station. And that's going to include Tarrant County.
I'm assuming the picture at the bottom is the two-step?
That is supposed to be the two-step. They're just not moving very fast.
I thought it was a lottery commercial.
Okay. We've made a huge effort in the past year, along with the Department of Motor Vehicles, to get the word out. Had a lot of press on it. We did a joint press conference of 3 counties and had the Department of Motor Vehicles executive director there. It's been in our award-winning newsletter, Taxing News, and as well as on Facebook and Twitter. And we're still, as always with anything new, there are people that just didn't get the word. And there were a number of people yesterday that came in, knew nothing about this. So there's always going to be some that are slow to get the word, but we're doing a good job of explaining it to people. That is one of the slowdowns, though, is the fact that we do have to explain this. Yesterday, Jim Douglas, Channel 8, called it a perfect registration storm because it was the first day of the month, first working day of the month, which is always extremely busy. It was the first day open after a significant weather event, and it was the first day of the single sticker program. So there were some glitches in the system. You have 3 state agencies, the Department of Motor Vehicles, DPS, and TCEQ, who are sending their data up to a third-party cloud where it's supposed to be synchronizing, and then it comes back down to us. And that's supposed to give us the real-time updates on the inspections. Well, that wasn't working exactly right yesterday. So we were having to manually input VINs and license plate numbers into the DPS system to determine if they had a valid inspection or not. That was really slowing things down. But Whitney Brewster, the executive director of DMV, called me this morning. They have a temporary fix in place that they think will solve that problem until they get a permanent fix. It's a brand new program. Things always kind of go a little haywire with new programs, and they did yesterday. But we got through it and served everybody that came to us, except the ones that we couldn't.
Thank you.
Except for those.
I really appreciate that.
Anyway, that's about it. And again, you can go to the website, go to the county website. There's a link to this website. And I'll answer any questions I can if you have any.
Is it working this morning?
It is working this morning.
So you've seen, I know you got the call, but your people are actually experiencing that at the real time it is working.
Yes. In the beginning, they were still having to input some of the numbers initially, but I'm told that now, and it's almost noon, it's working. So,
Keep up the good work.
Better days lie ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron.
Members of the court, we can go to the legislative issues, item B. Mr. Mendez has included his memoranda in your packet for you to review. Just like to point out maybe 1 or 2 things. It's pretty obvious that the Senate is going to be hearing some of the tax relief legislation this week. I did note, though, that SB 182 by Betancourt, that he has pulled that because of the fiscal note and we do not know when that is going to be heard again. I think it was supposed to be heard yesterday. I believe that.
Well, they were supposed to be taking public testimony on Wednesday, but they pulled that, like you said, they pulled that down, and it'll probably be next week or so before we're.
I don't know if there's any other tax bill. I know there's some that have been heard because there were some issues in the paper this morning dealing with that. I don't know if there's any other hearings that are going to occur Wednesday.
There will be public hearings taken. Senator Nelson last week said that they were going to list a long range of bills that were going to be heard. I think yesterday was property tax bills. Today is franchise tax bills, what she considers to be broad bills. There was going to be no public testimony taken yesterday or today, but they're still going to take public testimony, I believe, tomorrow. They're just not including Senate Bill 182 in that. That may very well get pushed over to the following Wednesday, depending upon when they get that fiscal note taken care of. There was I thought, a good interview with the Lieutenant Governor Sunday on Channel 8, where he indicated, you know, they're talking about the property tax relief, and the way they were talking about that was in terms of increasing the homestead exemption and making it 25% of the state average home value. And I think they indicated that that was somewhere around $134,000. But he was very focused on saying that that was for school taxes and did not include county and city, did not include other local governments, but it was purely the school tax from that standpoint on the homestead exemption. So that indicated to me at least that they understand and are well, aware of the fact that they have to make up that difference on the school and are trying to stay away from local government. I would just encourage all of us as we talk with our folks to remind them and encourage them to keep it focused on the schools from that perspective. And then they also, he talked very favorable of the transportation money on the sales tax on new vehicle sales in excess of a certain amount, that 50% of that would be split. And I think it was like $2.5 billion. Then anything above $2.5 billion, 50% would be split and sent to general revenue, and the other 50% would be sent to Fund 6. So between that and Prop 1, that could be close to $3 billion more a year. The word, at least as it was last week when they were talking about this in Senate Finance, was that the need to maintain the congestion levels that we have right now on a go-forward basis was about, I think they've been looking at $4 billion, around $4 billion a year. So they're coming close to moving up to that. And those would be dedicated funds, so they couldn't be swept and used someplace else.
And that would take a constitutional amendment. Is that correct?
On the sales tax?
Yes.
I believe so. I believe that is a constitutional amendment.
Besides that, I'll be more than happy to try to answer any questions you may have as it relates to this issue. With that, Your Honor, that's all we have this morning.
Okay. Anything else at this time? Then we will recess from our open session to proceed to close to discuss items. Fick is going to have to figure out where he's going to be taking us for lunch.
We're going to.
I mean, for the United.
Oh, yeah.
United Way.
Del Frisco.
I think that works.
Make it close a little bit.
Having returned from our closed session and there being no business to conduct at this time, we are adjourned. Okay.